another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Big show lined up for you again this week. James Vandenberg going to join us here in just a few moments talking Hawkeye football, how exciting times there are right now for the Hawks going for hopefully that Big Ten West championship at Minnesota this week. We'll talk about that, as well as Jeff Horner, former Hawkeye Basketball, playing great. His team doing very well at Truman State University, but also going to talk Iowa Hawkeyes. And Jeff also, they scrimmaged Purdue right after they scrimmaged Iowa, so Jeff's going to give us an analysis of the Big Ten and Iowa, Purdue. A lot coming up on this show, and we'll close it out with Sean Bock from 24/7 and CBS Sports talking all things recruiting for the Hawkeyes. But right now, we've got Craig and Stacy Schroeder with FightWithFlashFoundation.org or Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook. Craig and Stacy, great seeing you again. How's everything going with you guys?
Going great.
Good. Great to see you.
Whew, I got to exhale here. Craig, you got big news for us. The bourbon auction was last night. And again, you can see all this information at FightWithFlash.org or Facebook.com, Fight with Flash Foundation. So Craig and Stacy, I'll let you do the drum roll. As always, we're low budget here, but drum roll, please.
Yes,
what happened?
This year's event, they're tallying the final the number, so they're carrying the 9, dividing it by 3, and adding at least 1.6 to something, I don't know what it is. $59,000.
Yeah.
Wow, you're right. I said don't tell me until on the air. Blows my mind. You guys do great work. What great support. And thanks to you viewers that participated. And Craig will have more information on that. Again, you can check it out, Facebook.com, Fight with Flash Foundation, or FightWithFlash.org. And Stacy, you've got the garage sale coming up this week at your guys' house. Again, go to Facebook or online to find out the address, where you're going. 10 to 2, right? 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon this Saturday.
Yes.
So get ready, folks, for the auction. Lots of things. Those nice earrings you have, as always, blankets, sweaters, drinkware, everything, T-shirt.
Yes.
If you got it, they're going to get it. So here we go. So Stace, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but PJ Fleck, head coach at Minnesota, has never beaten Iowa in Kirk Ferentz, 0-5 right now. We remember a couple of years ago with the Kirk Ferentz saying, we'll take the pig and leave the timeouts. And there's going to be a little extra juice in this Minnesota-Iowa game this Saturday. What do you got for us as a pick?
Well, Iowa is still going to take them, of course. 34-22, my favorite.
The 22 because of Flash, of course. Thank you, Flash. I love it. Hawkeye victory, 34-22. And all the Hawks got to do is win on Black Friday against Nebraska, and they'll be Big Ten West champs. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Just that easy. Easy peasy. Straight from Stacy Schroeder's mouth to God's ears. There we go. Craig, Stacy, great seeing you again. Thanks as always.
Great seeing you, Dave.
You're welcome, and thank you. Fantastic. Congratulations again. Almost $60K at the bourbon auction online. $59,000 and counting, as Craig said. So great work by them, but great work by you folks as well. So for Craig and Stacy Schroeder, I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back with more Hawkeye in just a few moments. Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. There's our buddy James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback, now doing very well with RBC Wealth Management and a Corridor Investment Group. Back again, James. Thanks for rejoining us. And we had your buddy Bill Happel sitting in for you last week. And I do got to throw some props your wife's way. You were in New York, and she ran the New York City Marathon. You were cheering, right? You didn't run alongside with her and pace her, did you, by chance?
I was a spectator, that is all.
Well, and everything came out okay? She finished? Everything went well?
Everything went well. Awesome weather. I had never been to New York City, so it was great to see. I won't be moving there anytime soon.
Well, we like to hear that. We like to keep you close by. But, hey, big news to talk about with the Hawks. And, James, you and James Morris have done a great job of setting this up for us. You have nailed this perfectly for weeks and weeks and weeks. Boy, you start running the ball a little bit, then you can throw some passes. The defense gets a little bit of a break. All the Hawks done, James, if they beat Minnesota this week and then beat Nebraska, and if Illinois follows suit, they did the Hawks a favor by losing last week against Purdue, and if they can lose against Michigan and or Northwestern, the Hawks are Big Ten West champions again. As I talked to Bill Happel about this, and you and I have talked about this, if I would have said that to you 4 or 5 weeks ago, would you have thought the Hawks would be where they are right now, James?
I don't know if I would have said they're going to be where they're at right now, because there's other factors here. There's other teams. But I would have said we were going to keep getting better. And I have said that. And it's exactly what we've done. We've chipped away, and we've continued to just grind out and get better at what we're doing. We still got a long ways to go, which is the exciting part here. but we're playing really good team football. And as I had said with James Morris a while back, I mean, November is the time that they circle on the calendar. This is when you separate kind of the teams in the Big Ten and when you win the Big Ten West. So it's an exciting time right now. I doubt they're wrapped up in that bigger picture. They're going to look at this as another week and out improving.
Yeah, Hawks right now, 6-4, could finish 8-4. As I said earlier, you've done a great job of setting us up for this. And this freshman out of nowhere, and again, James, you know what it's like having a great power back in your backfield, how that helps and opens things up in the backfield for a quarterback. Talk about that a little bit with Caleb Johnson, this true freshman playing for the Hawks right now.
Well, I think I'll go down a slightly different path. I know how hard it is to be a freshman. So to be a freshman performing at this level consistently, I mean, taking the beating that a running back inevitably takes, I think it's pretty exciting to think like what that means in another year, 2 or 3, because freshmen just in general come in and there's a learning curve. And that was no different for Adam Robinson or Jewel Hampton or Brandon Weger, Mikhail McCall, all the guys I was there with. It's exciting to think what is in store for the running back room. With the age factor being so young, we're going to have some good backs for a while.
Yeah. And we've had Jordan Canzeri on this show before, and you were a senior when he was a freshman, and he was another one that came in and contributed in a big way his freshman year. And knowing that playbook and being sharp and ready, that's what it's all about. But what a weapon it's become. So take us inside QB1's head here in the next minute or two we have with you to close out this segment with you, James. What is the prep like? We record this, as always, on Tuesday afternoon. Today is November 15th. We're going into the Minnesota game as a collective here. What is Spencer Petras? What's happening in his helmet, and what's going on in the meeting rooms?
Well, I would assume they're practicing outside, which looking out my window, it's snowy today. It'll be cold. I'm going to say the same. I mean, it's doing all the little things right, which then lead you into a Saturday. I mean, clearly our recipe, as we've won a couple games here, is we've done a better job protecting the ball. That's going to be a huge emphasis, especially with the weather. And then we just got to play together as a unit. We got to make the plays that are there and not make the big mistakes. Football, a lot of times, comes down to 5 or 6 plays. And if they go one way or the other, it can determine the game. And we've done a really good job these last couple of weeks of sticking together. And even when we have the bad plays, coming back. I mean, how many times in the first half against Wisconsin did we have bad plays? Yeah. A lot. But nobody broke. Nobody broke. We punted it. We played defense. We got the ball back. And then we quit making those mistakes. And then that game started to change a little bit. So it's the Big Ten. That's the way you win. I would be excited as both a fan and the players for the opportunity of these last couple of weeks.
You nailed it right there, James. When the offense is able to collect and deposit those big plays from the defense and special teams, you're going to get that from Campbell and Benson, but then you throw Craig in there, Cooper DeJean on defense and special teams. You could put Torrey Taylor's name in there too. And then the offense is now delivering or depositing on those special deliveries from the defense and special teams. It's all clicking along right now. And you've talked about it, that undefeated November streak still rolling along for Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes. So, James, we look forward to talking to you next week, and go Hawks against Minnesota. We look forward to talking to you next week about it.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
My pleasure as always. He is James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback, and now doing very well at RBC Wealth Management and CorridorInvestmentGroup.com. For James Vandenberg, I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back with more Hawkeye to close out the show with Sean Bock from CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports. Back with more in just a few moments.
To have a strong finish, you need an excellent start. It's true on the track and also in the field. That's why Merschman Seeds works tirelessly to deliver cutting-edge technology year after year. Introducing Starting Line, Merschman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, now providing added protection from white mold and sudden death syndrome all season. Ask for Starting Line seed treatment from Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we are participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see our buddy Jeff Horner on the screen. Jeff going into year 5 now at Truman State University as head men's basketball coach. Of course, you know Jeff, former Hawkeye basketball, playing great and at or near all the meaningful statistical categories near the top of the list. So Jeff, as always, thanks for joining us. Let's you and I talk a little bit about Purdue. We talked about Iowa last week when you faced them in an exhibition, and then you went to Purdue. So let's get a little landscape on the Big Ten. We talked obviously about the 15 of the top 20 scorers from last year in the Big Ten are gone. Jaden Ivey, obviously in the NBA. Keegan Murray from Iowa in the NBA. Of course, Ivey from Purdue. Let's talk a little bit about Purdue and what they have back, and you facing a 7-footer plus in Zach Edey. What was that like as you're smiling, and how did that work for you guys? I know you guys, on the scoreboard it doesn't count, but it was a similar score to your game against Iowa, where they had beaten you pretty handily, but again, you're expecting to get more out of that game than just a win and a loss. So what was your experience like against Matt Painter's team in Purdue, please, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Painter, just like Coach McCaffrey, allowed us to come in and play. And so we're very grateful for that. Again, I know Purdue was picked, probably a little bit lower than what they have been in previous years, but I think they're a little bit like Iowa, where they're probably going to surprise some people. They started 2 freshmen at the point guard and the shooting guard, which probably surprised, a little bit of people, that type of thing. But those 2 freshmen, I think, play, well above how old they are, just maturity wise. So they're going to be really good. They're just going to be really solid. They're going to be, Coach Painter surrounded Edey with a lot of shooters, so that's something that's huge. But, we couldn't, he posted up so well and he put us under the basket, and, there's just no way of trying to get around him and that type of thing. So by the time he caught the ball, we were going to go try to double, but he was too low. We could never get to him, that type of thing. So he was definitely a handful and very hard to handle. But, I think, teams that probably have bigger centers, that type of thing. It's almost like you carry big guys just to be able to play them if you're in the Big Ten. So, it's going to be one of those things where I think if you got bigger centers, you'll be able to be okay, but still, he's still pretty good. He's still a really good player. And, he gets such low position. Like I said, he's really hard to guard. And, Coach Painter does a great job of surrounding him with shooters, that type of thing. And, he's only a junior. So, I mean, they're only going to continue to keep on getting better. I mean, they're bringing up Indiana Mr. Basketball, off the bench again this year, and the first kid who would probably start for a lot of schools in the Big Ten. So it just kind of shows you how deep they are. And I think they got a lot of guys that can play. They brought the Jenkins kid in from Utah from last year to kind of come off the bench, and I think kind of be that, microwave guy to come in and give an instant offense. So they got a lot of good pieces. I think they did a really good job of filling pieces in from last year's team. But, I think you'll probably see a little bit more of a team effort this year than, obviously Ivy last year was really good and did a great job, and he was unselfish. But, in the same sense, I think you're just going to see probably a more well-rounded, better defensive team from them this year.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jeff, when you mentioned that with last year. Of course, the Hawks brought in Josh Agundale, again, tried to get some minutes, and Riley Mulvey in the Big Ten championship tournament games, and really did a nice job. And the Hawks, of course, are going to put it on the floor and get it out and running, and not put it on the floor so much as get it off the glass and get it out on the break. And they're going to try to run Edey into the ground and get him on the bench, where he only plays about half the game, 20 minutes anyway. It's difficult for a big guy like that to get a lot of minutes, as you agree with me there, that if they can do that, and that's worked well for Iowa in the past, in these last, as you mentioned, he's going into his junior year, the last couple of years, Franz seems to have a pretty good scheme, and some of the players have matched up well with Purdue and Zach Edey. Of course, last year, the first go-around at Mackey Arena in Indiana, the Hawks didn't have Keegan Murray, if you remember, in the early Big Ten regular season, and they still gave him a game and had him on the ropes. Iowa did, and then Purdue came back and won that game. But then as the year progressed, Big Ten tournament, as I mentioned, Iowa and Fran have done a really good job against Zach Edey and Purdue, haven't they, Jeff?
Yeah, they have. I actually watched that first Iowa Purdue game, and I thought Iowa, like you said, they played without Keegan and just really did a good job. And I actually think Iowa's length this year is going to be a lot more. We kind of talked about it. You're starting, basically 6'4", 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", and 6'9". Their starting lineup, and they're going to be able to switch quite a bit with all the length that they have. So, I really like the way that Iowa plays. They're long and athletic, and it'll be fun to kind of watch those two play again this year. Obviously, we played both of them, so watching those two, getting to watch those two will be pretty cool to see. Just kind of where we were at, that type of thing. And I think we started off both games decently well, and but sooner or later, their physicality and their length just really wore us down.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, and the rest of the Big Ten will find that out as well. So we'll continue to break down the rest of the Big Ten as the season progresses, but we've got Iowa and Purdue covered now, and we'll get to more Iowa Hawkeye basketball and compare that throughout these shows. But Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch up with you in a couple weeks. Safe travels to you. Good luck on the road. He is Jeff Horner, going into year 5 now at Truman State University as head men's basketball coach. And Jeff, former Iowa Hawkeye basketball, playing great, former Mr. Iowa basketball, and committed to play for the Hawkeyes when he was a freshman in high school. So, Jeff, always appreciate the time with you, and thanks so much for joining us, and talk to you in a few weeks.
Thanks again.
You're very welcome. For Jeff Horner, I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back with more Hawkeye in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Make next harvest your best harvest with Merschman Seeds. First, our connection to MS Technologies makes us an industry leader for Enlist E3 soybean genetics. Second, starting line seed treatment, our most advanced seed treatment, comes standard with added protection against both sudden death syndrome and white mold. Third, upgrade with Saltro and Trunemco for maximum protection against sudden death syndrome and soybean cyst nematodes. There's only one leader in soybean technology, Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see our buddy Sean Bock here with CBS Sports, 24/7 Sports, our Hawkeye Insider. Sean, good to see you again. How you doing?
Good, Dave. How you doing?
All is well here. We got so much to discuss as always. My goodness. I say that every week because it's true. Recruiting news, of course, with you, and oh boy, that there's large news there, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But let's talk Hawkeye football playing first, which is we had news on Keegan Johnson out again this week. You had media availability today with Kirk Ferentz and some of the players. We know that Keegan's going to be out again, Keegan Johnson, but that leads us into Arlen Bruce. Looks like he's going to be ready this week against Minnesota.
Yeah, it seems like he suffered a little bit of a stinger against Purdue and missed the first day of practice last week heading into the Wisconsin game, which is always kind of normal because they like to give some of those guys that maybe got a little beat up the first day of practice or in the game before.
Right.
During that week, they like to give them 1 or 2 days to reset their bodies a little bit. So it was looking maybe like he would play during the week. I think he practiced a little bit, but sounded like maybe Friday there was some talk that he might be out. And then things went into Saturday, tried to give it a go, but wasn't able to. But it'll be good to get him back against Minnesota because Minnesota, their secondary is pretty talented.
Yeah.
They got a couple really talented defensive backs that could give Iowa some trouble in the passing game.
Well, we talked about it earlier in the show, and if you don't think P.J. Fleck and his Gophers are going to have something for Iowa after Fleck now being 0-5 against Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes while he's at Minnesota, and the whole couple years ago with we'll take the pig and leave the timeouts from Kirk Ferentz. So a little extra always for that rivalry game, but the Floyd of Rosedale pig, another trophy game for the Hawkeyes. So let's talk about recruiting news. Everybody was abuzz. We'll talk basketball first. The usual suspects agreed and signed to play for Iowa, which is Owen Freeman, Price Sanford, and also Brock Harding. So we've got that happening, and then you've got a little extra basketball news that's going to happen later this week.
Yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday, right?
Tuesday afternoon, November 15th.
Yeah, Newark, St. Benedict. So Newark out of New Jersey, St. Benedict, 3-star power forward. Laje Dembele, who is a native of Mali, is going to commit and sign to Iowa on Wednesday. Hawkeyes beat out Rutgers and Wake Forest for Dembele. Dembele's a 6'8", 6'9", 230, 240 pound kind of powerful power forward who is more of a back to the basket type of guy. Maybe not as athletic or as springy as maybe Owen Freeman, but could be a really good asset for Iowa. Maybe not an early impact guy. Maybe give him 1 year to develop, but he can provide some depth on the interior, which is really important.
When you mentioned Brock Harding being a point guard, smaller guard, and then Harding being a big guy inside, so having that Dembele along with him, a nice combination. And as we mentioned throughout the show, we record this every Tuesday afternoon, today being November 15th, as we just said, but also tomorrow then, by the time you see this on Wednesday, November 16th, Dembele will sign with the Hawkeyes. So we've been burying the lead. As you're chuckling, let's get to it. Kadyn Proctor, much made about pre-game last week while Iowa was warming up to face Wisconsin, that Kadyn Proctor is going to Oregon to visit them officially. And hey, they lost to Washington last week, and I'm not wishing them sour grapes, but Proctor now out of the going to be playing in the state championship game. Again, by the time this airs, his Southeast Polk team will be playing in the 5A state championship game. So he's got a lot going on, but talk to us about Kadyn Proctor. I'm going to get out of the way and give you as much space as you need, Sean.
Yeah, it's definitely a developing story on Saturday. That was one of the more interesting things I've been a part
And the
of.
Iowa staff was surprised by this, you were saying.
It sounds like it was a surprise. I don't know if they didn't know for sure beforehand, but it was definitely a surprise based on Proctor visiting Iowa City as much as he has and having those relationships with coaches and guys on the team. Obviously, with Xavier Wampa, Gavin Williams, and a number of other guys, former Southeast Polk. I mean, Gavin obviously ended up going to Dowling, but him and Xavier are really close. He's close with Gavin. It was a little bit of a surprise that maybe Kadyn was looking elsewhere. And then when you're a 5-star top, offensive tackle in the country, you're going to be recruited by other schools until signing day, even if you're committed to a program like Iowa.
And Alabama was still in there as well.
Right. And, with the way that Iowa's offense looked this year and the way inconsistency, I know Proctor's got a chance to contribute early next year, potentially start. Schools can use that to recruit against you. And Oregon, with having Phil Knight and their at their disposal too, obviously.
All that Nike money, yeah.
Yeah, NIL could be a really interesting factor with it too. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, I would say he sticks with Iowa. I think there's a lot going for Iowa that can, eventually get the Hawkeyes to have him on signing day and, put pen to paper, but you just never know. NIL is a crazy game, and Kirk kind of mentioned it today too, just saying that, players have all the power now.
Yeah.
And, that's probably for the best, but there's some different aspects with it that make it a little more difficult.
Did Kirk Ferentz give any indication today, or he just kind of it's a wait and see, and Iowa's doing all they can do?
He can't necessarily comment about recruits.
Well, we know that he and his son Brian went to see Kadyn Proctor at Southeast Polk a few weeks ago, correct?
Yes, they did. And things might have, you can't talk to them then technically too, but it's just a really good sign to have, another your coach there to be represented and to have the head coach and the offense coordinator there.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. Alabama had one of their coaches at the Dome last week too.
In a semifinal game, that he played.
Semifinal game against Johnston. So, those schools are going to come. It came down to Iowa and Alabama, but for a long time, Proctor had a really good relationship with Oregon's offensive line coach, Adrian Clem, who played in the NFL for a couple of years. And I think it was in spring when I went to go see Proctor in person. Me and Proctor talked for like an hour and a half. He mentioned how much, he really appreciated Adrian Clem and what he has done in his recruitment and just the bond they have. So, it's one of the big selling points for Proctor in Oregon. We'll see what happens. I know there was positive buzz out of Eugene. I know Oregon felt confident, but Iowa's got a lot going for it too. So
yeah. Well, maybe them Oregon losing to Washington on Saturday might have helped Iowa's chances. I don't know. But, the intriguing thing is in his championship game at the Unidome against West Des Moines Valley on Friday, there should be a lot of different coaches there from different schools looking to recruit him. But I want to let the viewers know as well, Sean, that during the signing period in December 14th, we're going to do a special signing day show. We're going to record on, instead of a Tuesday afternoon as always, we're going to record on Wednesday afternoon, December 14th. After Proctor supposedly will officially sign to Iowa and some of the other football big recruits, you're going to have a signing day special, so we're going to record that day leading into that next week's show. So can't wait to have you back then. I was going to ask if there's anything else, but I think that pretty much covers it all. So, hey, I want to also let you viewers know that as the season progresses, we're going to talk more Iowa Hawkeye women's basketball. What a big victory they had this past Sunday at Drake in overtime. A nice in-state rivalry and battle. Caitlin Clark and Monica Sonano double-doubles and doing what they always do. So what a game that was. So Bluder's Bunch still clipping right along in the top 5 national rankings this early season. Of course, wrestling got off to a big start at Carver Hawkeye Arena, sellout against California Baptist. Big victory on Sunday there for Tom Brands and his guys. So not just talking Iowa Hawkeye men's basketball and Iowa Hawkeye football. A lot of other things happening now in the winter sports with Bluder's Bunch and Brands guys as well. So we'll be talking about that and the ever popular much, much more. So Sean, thanks so much for joining us as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure as always. He is Sean Bock, Hawkeye Insider with 24/7 Sports and CBS Sports. So thanks to Sean, also Craig and Stacy Schroeder with Fight with Flash Foundation, also James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback, and Jeff Horner, former Hawkeye basketball player, now head man at Truman State University men's basketball. So for the aforementioned guests, I'm Dave O'Hara for Hawkeye. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeye. Thanks to all of you.